What does maths have to do with poetry? I'm doing a series where I try to connect topics that people don't usually associate with mathematics to mathematics, and this is episode 0, part 2. Welcome to
The Maths Behind Poetry, Part 2.
In part 1 of this episode, I mainly talked about rhyming schemes, and for some analysis, I actually downloaded about 1,000,000 lines of poetry onto my computer. And with a lot of poems on your computer, you can actually build a super simple language model that produces more poetry for you. Here's how: you start with a random word from any of the poems, and then you look for what words usually follow that last picked word. And of those words that usually follow that last picked word, you choose one randomly and also add it to your sentence. And then repeat that. Look at the last word you picked, look for what words usually follow the last picked word, pick one of those randomly and add it to your sentence, repeat, repeat, repeat until you've got a full sentence. And I think surprisingly, this already produces sentences that kind of sound about right. Something like, red cloak wrapped in the secret, thought it all the crow. Which, sounds nonsensical, but for a poem, it could be realistic. And if you consider not only the last word, but the last three words, it actually begins to make a bit more sense. My model produced something like, how wrought they, in their disorder, knew not where. This simple language model is an instance of something called a Markov chain, and Markov chains turn out to be quite a big deal in statistics, and they also are the backbone of something like ChatGPT, a large language model, as opposed to my small language model. ChatGPT, for example, it considers, I think, the last 100,000 or so last words instead of my 3 last words, and it also uses a bunch of smart maths to focus only on the important bits of text, but in practice, it is just a Markov chain. But I think it's still really impressive how well my Markov chain with 3 last words already works. For example, I gave it all of Donald Trump's last tweets, and it produces things that sound about right. Something like, I want to curb unconvicted violent felons, crazy Dems opposed, need to be flown at half staff, at all if Mr. Trump for president. And that concludes part 2 of the Maths Behind Poetry. If you have ideas for future episodes, please leave them in the comments somewhere. And thanks for watching. Bye.